Hello and welcome whenever and wherever you might be listening. Welcome to the Guambai Podcast. The Guambai Podcast brought to you by the Dildo Brewing Company and Museum. The Dildo Brewing Company, located in beautiful downtown Dildo, Newfoundland and Labrador, sister community to Hollywood, California, home of the beautiful Hollywood sign erected by Honorary Mayor Jimmy Kimmel himself, home to Eyes to Buy PA and Dildo Lager. You want to see this place if you haven't already. A shout out to the Dildo Brewing Company for sponsoring us. My name is Kevin George. I'm here in London, Ontario, and I'm joined by a brother who's not here in London, Ontario.
Hi, I'm Kevin's other brother, Darryl, here in Whiteway, Newfoundland, Labrador. I'm the teacher, and I'm going to attempt to school the preacher here on this podcast. All the Newfoundland, Labrador trivia.
If any of you are listening to the pilot, you'll know that he's not going to have to work very hard to school the preacher. It's going to come pretty easy.
I've never taken it easy on you, and I don't plan to start
now.
It's
not going to start now.
That music is great, Kevin. Where did that come from?
Well, Darryl, boy, that is our good friend Damien Follett, arranged and played the Ode to Newfoundland for us for our theme music from here into perpetuity. That is Newfoundland and Labrador's own Damien Follett, who's you can find playing at the Dildo Brewery and in all kinds of other places, of course. And he's working on new material right now. And we'll continue to let you know what Damien is up to because he's a great friend of the podcast. So thank you, Damien. Well, Darryl is what I would call back home. Beautiful Whiteway, a community that we both grew up in that we love very much. And it's really where we both got our love for everything Newfoundland, really. And we had a conversation about doing this podcast. Darryl really sort of had the genesis of this. Darryl, why trivia? Why are we doing this in trivia? What are we up to?
Well, we both enjoy podcasts, of course, and Kevin himself has a podcast, very successful podcast with his friend Rob Henderson and Ian Stevenson. And my son actually has a podcast right now about The Simpsons, and he's done one previously. And I just said, hey, man, I want to get in on this. So just out of the blue, I mentioned the idea of a podcast and trivia in particular, because we both love trivia, of course, always have over the years. And so I threw that idea at you on a lark, really. And about 2 days later, the whole thing was put together and posted. And here we are. So we had no other choice but to move on forward with it.
As the people here who know me in London say, well, don't just, unless you're ready to go with it, don't say anything to Kevin. He's just going to go. Right now. So that's sort of how we got off to the races. I think that we come to know a lot about sort of different things about Newfoundland and Labrador, really just growing up in the house that we did in Whiteway, Darryl.
Yeah, we certainly did. Of course, news and current events and history and everything was a big thing in our household. The supper hour news, of course, was must-see TV. Everything stopped basically in the house. And, the paper on the Saturday, we didn't get the Evening Telegram all week, but we used to get the Saturday paper. That was must read as well. Yep. And the weekly Compass that we used to get. Yep. And, trivia kind of, knowing things and little tidbits and so on kind of was an extension of that, right?
Well, yeah, I can remember, if for whatever reason there had to be a conversation had in the living room at 6 o'clock or 6:10 while the news was on, there was a common phrase, shh, be quiet, or shut up your lip. The news is on. The news is on.
Wasn't always overly polite, but basically you weren't. There wasn't many times in our house where people weren't talking, but that was one of the times you weren't allowed to talk. For sure.
Bob George had to hear the news, and we all learned a lot because of it. So
yeah, so we we just wanted to put a little thing together on Newfoundland trivia, and the idea is to have a little bit of fun with this. Nothing too serious. We thought, well, maybe there'd be other people out there that might be interested in knowing a little bit about Newfoundland. Other Newfoundlanders, of course, might want to try their hand at some facts and stories about Newfoundland. And Newfoundlanders who aren't currently living in Newfoundland but want to kind of stay in touch with their Newfoundland roots.
Yes.
And just the idea to keep it light, to have a little bit of a conversation, throw a bit of trivia out there, throw a few questions at you, see how you do. And go from there. We're not experts by any means. We'll say that right from the start.
No, definitely not me.
the idea is to you look up some stuff, do some research, and so on. Obviously, the questions and answers are only as good as the sources that we look into. If we do make a mistake, let us know. We'll do our best to try to correct it.
Well, yeah, future podcast segment after we get a few of these out is, boys, we screwed that up. and then you can let us know. And at the end of every episode, we'll bring that in. And you mentioned people from away who are missing Newfoundland and everything. We put up a little pilot a week ago, and it was just really to help us get our platforms established and everything. And shockingly, a bunch of you listened to it, and we received at least a few messages from away. One highlight, getting a message from Tennessee, from Jennifer Donnelly Hughes, who was really excited to hear the podcast and cheering us on to do more.
Yeah, so we want to get started, Kevin. So I'm going to try to give you a little warm-up question. How's that sound?
Yeah, hold on now. Before you get started, like what kind of categories are you going to have going through this anyway? Like, you got a bunch of them?
Well, we've got lots of possibilities when you're talking Newfoundland and Labrador. Of course, you've got many possibilities, and so we looked at what could we do a podcast on in terms of Newfoundland trivia. And I mean, the list is long. I mean, you're looking at, I just got a few here off the top. You got politics, Newfoundland Labrador disasters, music, actors, the Newfoundland regiment, sporting events, Newfoundland personalities, Joey Smallwood.
Oh, Joey.
We got to do one on Joey.
Joey.
Just in honor of our father who loved Joey Smallwood.
Yep.
The indigenous peoples of Newfoundland and Labrador, fishery, wildlife, geography, traditions, shipwrecks, place names, you name it.
I'm in trouble, boss. This is wicked.
You better get busy.
I got to get a book or something. I got to read something. I've been gone. Listen, I've been out of Newfoundland for 25 years. And now this fellow is going to just paint a picture of just how much I've forgotten or never knew. This is what this is going to be. We're going to find out. So what's so what tonight then? Like what tonight, whatever it is you're listening.
It was hard. It was hard to kind of decide what to start with. So we kind of went with, rather than going with any of those obvious choices, we're basically going to focus on trivia. Two things, I guess, that go together, I think. Trivia and beer.
Ooh, I love beer. Makes me a jolly good fellow.
You will have lots of questions on beer.
Good.
So we're going to do trivia and beer because they do go together, as you know. And I don't know if you know or not, but one of the stories about the origin of Trivial Pursuit was that the two fellows who, the very first time when they got together and devised the idea for Trivial Pursuit, actually was over a beer. So, you never know.
Good things come from that.
So back to the warm-up question. Now,
I know you're... Warm me up. All
right. You've been living away for a long time.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember how to talk like a Newfoundlander.
Every now and then it comes out.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a Newfoundland word.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me what it means.
Go on by.
So here's the first warm-up question.
I hope the first one is go on by.
It's not. It is Ali Koosh. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but
Sweet
Ali Koosh.
Mother of God, Ali Koosh.
Ali Koosh.
Now you're going to give me multiple guess.
Well, did you want to have a guess first before I give that to you?
No.
Actually, I'm going to give you better than that. I'm going to give it to you in a sentence.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give you a multiple choice.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
So I'm going to make it really easy.
Ali Koosh. Ali Koosh, folks.
At the end of the day, his mother told him to Ali Koosh.
Go to bed.
So you got it without even the multiple choice.
Well, the way I'm more familiar with it, though, I mean, like, didn't you hear around our house saying going to Kush? I heard that growing up, at least from somebody.
That's the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah, no. So I've heard it as go to Kush. I never heard Ali Kush, but go to Kush. Yeah, and in fact, I even from time to time now say it because Catherine Ann will pick up on that. I'm going to Kush. So
there you go.
Okay, Okay, everybody. Good night, all. We're done
right here. Stop now.
Yeah,
Kevin is.
I'm 100%.
Okay, so here we go. We'll dig right in. So the first part of the category I said was going to be about trivia and beer. So let's talk about trivia. So when I think of trivia growing up, I think of the show Reach for the Top. Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah. Geez, I love Reach for the Top. We even played it in school. Darryl, did you play it?
We played it. I guarantee you we played it. We played it in, I remember, of course, Education Week, right? We used to play Reach for the Top. And big game in grade 6, of course. The grade 6 has got to play Reach for the Top, your last year in Ackerman Elementary. And I actually remember the last questions in Reach for the Top, of course, was the lightning round. They ask you these questions really quickly.
Yeah.
And so you'd be, really having to answer the questions. And I remember we were in this game, it was really close, and questions were being asked of me. And the question was a large black bird seen flying around the school. And in my haste to answer the question, I said cow.
The ever famous flying cow.
So dropping of that one letter R led to a lot of teasing, I can guarantee you.
The flying cow of Newfoundland. I played in grade 8, and I think if my memory is right, Jack Reid he was in Ridgewood, used to be the teacher involved, and we played.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And Woodland came down, and that was how my buddy Craig Martin, shout out to you, Craig. That's how we met. Actually, was we got to the to the end of it. We won, and it was a lightning round thing, and a bunch of political questions that I knew because Dad made us watch the news, and I was wearing a weird hat, and Craig had to know who was the weirdo with the hat that knew all the premiers of the provinces of the country and all that. So
that's because that was the one time you had to be quiet.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So reach for the top.
Reach for the top. So
great memories.
Yeah, Reach for the Top actually began in Canada in 1961. I don't know if you knew that or not. And it aired on CBC TV until 1985. And it was a takeoff of a BBC show, actually, which is not a big surprise, I guess, because a lot of our shows have been. It was, I think the show over there was called Top of the Form or something like that. I was surprised to find out that Reach for the Top is still on the go today, actually. And,
really?
Yeah, it's aired on regional cable networks. I don't know if it's really here in Newfoundland, but certainly up on the rest of Canada. And I guess the question I'm going to ask you, actually, just by way of connection, several London schools actually have won the national championship. London Central Secondary School and Saunders Secondary School. Yes, have won twice each, actually.
That doesn't surprise me. And London Central is where you mentioned Ian Stevenson earlier. He's a graduate of Central.
Oh, there you go.
Those two schools are really quite something here in town.
So I don't know. They've won. You didn't know that.
Didn't know who.
Here's the other question. You didn't know that they had won the national championship.
No, I didn't.
So do you know that a Newfoundland team actually won the national championship?
I think I do know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Is this a question? Can I have the question?
Well, the question is coming. Don't answer it until I ask you.
Okay.
So the question is, what year did the Newfoundland team win the national championship? It's the only year that Newfoundland has ever won the national championship for Reach for the Top. Was it 1972, 1974, 1980, or 1984?
It was either 72 or 74, and I'm going to go with 72.
You were so close.
74.
It was 1974.
Right.
It was played right here in Newfoundland.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Newfoundland won the national championship in a year where they hosted it here in Newfoundland, Labrador. And it was actually that year, 1974. Don't know if you'd get that right off top. This wasn't one of my original questions, but do you know what year that was in Newfoundland? Why it was a celebratory year here? Was it one of the come home years? No, it was has to do with the year itself.
Oh, let's see. I'm doing math in my head now. No, I really don't know. Is the Dominion Day or something like that?
No, it was the 25th anniversary of Newfoundland joining Confederation, actually.
Oh, so did they do it on April the 1st, April Fool's Day?
No. So they had celebrations, as they do with those types of things. So it was a festive year. So it was fitting, of course, that we hosted it and we actually won. Here's the question that seems like you might know based on your original enthusiasm for this particular category.
Reach for the top.
Do you know what was the name of the school that won? The name of the school that represented Newfoundland and won the national championship? And I can give you some hints if you don't know right off.
No, I'm going to try and guess it because I believe it was one of the Catholic schools in those days, and the two Catholic schools that I would have known is like the girls' school, which was Holy Heart of Mary School for girls, and I think the boys' school would have been Gonzaga. So I'm going to say Gonzaga.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Well, you would be right.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you're doing good. I didn't even have to ask you a multiple choice on that one. You can go on YouTube and see this. Actually, the game is posted. Anybody interested in this stuff, I'd encourage you to go and look, because it's great TV. They're up there. Gonzaga's playing. They're in Blazers actually, but they actually the four boys on the team are wearing the Gonzaga Blazers, but they actually gave up wearing the Blazers the year before. They just wore them really at a team unity.
Oh,
actually.
really? That's interesting.
Yeah. So the opponents for the game, this final game, was a team from Alberta, and with only just seconds to go in the game, the score was Alberta 275, Newfoundland 280. So it was close.
I was 3. Now let's just, before you go anywhere else, so the rest of the world knows I was 3.
So here were the last 3 questions. They don't have anything to do with Newfoundland, but here were the last 3 questions that were asked in the lightning round.
Okay.
Last 3. Here
would I have been any help to Gonzaga? Is that what this segment is called?
This is what we're checking out.
Okay.
Who wrote the tale about Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail? No, so you wouldn't be any help.
I wouldn't be any help with that one.
So that would be Beatrix Potter.
Oh, of course.
And Peter Chafe on Gonzaga got that one correct.
Oh yeah, there's even Petty Harbor.
Don't know where Peter's from, but
okay. All right.
Question number 2 was, who was the good wizard in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings?
Oh, the good wizard is Gandalf.
Yes. Guess what? Neither Alberta or Newfoundland got that one correct. So I don't think Lord of the Rings was quite as big as what it is today. Back in 1974.
It's got a resurgence.
Last question was, what is the most common word in written English? You got that one right. And Peter Chafe did as well.
Okay.
And thankfully, because Peter Chafe answered those 2 questions correct, Newfoundland ended up with 300 points. Alberta mysteriously ended up with 270. I don't know what happened to the 5 at the end for Newfoundland to win. So there you go. We won the championship. So I'm not going to move off Reach for the Top just yet, though, because there's a couple other interesting little facts there.
Okay.
One is that the host for the show, now not the quizmaster, that was, I think, a guy by the name of Peter Guest. But the host for the show, remember it was here in Newfoundland, was a well-known Newfoundland personality. I'm going to do like they do on Reach for the Top. Now I'm going to give you clues as you try to answer this. See if you can get it right off the top first with just that one clue.
Bob Cole.
You got her.
Okay.
Right,
you're going to. Well, my only question was, I thought it was going to be a trick that somebody else did that, but Bob Cole did it earlier. I knew at some point in his past he hosted Reach for the Top.
Yeah, but, you are on fire here today.
Oh yeah,
you might have been 3, but you were paying attention.
Well, I heard a lot about it since.
Yeah, so I mean, Bob Cole, of course, as you know, went on to a legendary 50-year career with CBC Sports. Broadcasting NHL. He's actually a member of the NHL Hockey Hall of Fame. So they don't get much better than Bob Cole.
No.
However, Bob Cole wasn't the only TV personality to appear on that particular show. One of the 4 members of the Gonzaga Newfoundland team,
yes, I do know,
went on to become a sportscaster and TV host. At one point, he was the co-host of CBC's Marketplace. Not sure if you watch that show still. You do? Yeah. And is currently the host of The World This Hour on CBC. So I don't think
Tom Harrington.
You got it, boy. I thought I was.
Can we do more Reach for the Top, please?
You may not know, though, he did his undergraduate degree at MUN. He actually did his journalism degree at Western University, which is a university that you are very familiar with. I have to say, when I was looking into this, there's a book actually written about this particular game. It's called, aptly, Game by Joan Sullivan. So
what did Joan have to do with it?
I'm not sure her connection, but she has a great book, and it's commentary throughout by different people who were involved in the show, as well as prominent Newfoundlanders who at that time. Go on by.
That's
so, as you know, that wasn't the only thing for trivia. Trivial Pursuit was also a big thing when we were growing up in the 80s. Came around 1984. The original. Now, guess what? I do not have a question for you on Trivial Pursuit with respect to Newfoundland.
No, but what?
I have an open-ended question for anybody. Well, you can answer it if you want, but it is this.
All right.
Because I don't remember. Are there any questions in the original 1984 version of Trivial Pursuit about Newfoundland and Labrador? And there's over 6,000 questions apparently.
I'm going to guess no.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking I seem to remember something about the Newfoundland dog and the Labrador Retriever, but that's about the only thing I can kind of remember. But maybe if somebody's out there that knows the answer to that, we would love to hear from you.
And if you have the original green box with every card intact and you can read them all for us before we do this again, please email us at guambypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know.
Of course, Newfoundland, well, I say of course, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Newfoundland had its own version of Trivial Pursuit.
Guamba. What was that one called? Well, no, the one that I knew.
It wasn't called Trivial Pursuit.
Newfoundlandia.
Newfoundlandia, yes. A gentleman by the name of Cliff Brown created this board game. It wasn't Trivial Pursuit, but it was very similar in a lot of ways. Right. The board was very similar and question categories.
Yeah.
So some people may remember it. We still have it actually, and so a lot of them are still kicking around. A lot of great questions, probably over 1,000 questions, I think, on Newfoundland and Labrador. The Newfoundlandia game had 4 categories, Kevin.
Guamba.
Now, I'm not going to ask you to name the 4 categories because that would be a little bit unreasonable.
That'd be cruel.
But I'm going to get you to name one. They were arts and culture, people and politics, history and geography, which seem to be pretty, generic names for categories. And then right out of the blue here, there was a category all about St. John's.
Guamba.
I'm thinking maybe Cliff Brown might have been
Cliff must have been from St. John's. St. John's. He's from St. John's, boy.
So here's the question.
He was the Duke of Duckworth.
Here's the question.
Okay.
What was the category called about St. John's?
Oh, multiple guess, please.
Multiple guess.
Okay.
Was it Townie Trivia, St. John's Stumpers, or Capital Queries?
I've got to say, what'd you call the first one? Townie
Trivia.
I think that's what it was.
You got it. It was called Townie Trivia.
Yeah.
Now, I can't get off Newfoundlandia, though, without just trying you with a few Newfoundlandia questions.
All right. Let's have a look at it.
All right.
Here's the first one. Okay.
Here's the first one. Now, I'm a little bit afraid to ask you this one, but I'm going to. What is a one-holer or a two-holer?
Well, sir, that refers to the outhouse. You're either going to poop in one, or you can poop with your friend, or you can you and your brother Darryl can go have a poop together if you like.
So, yeah, you have been studying.
Don't you remember the bathroom down in the old church hall was a two-holer before they tore that down?
I think I've erased that from my memory.
Well, there was a two-holer in there. Anyway, go ahead.
So what British statesman called Newfoundlanders the best small boat fishermen in the world?
What British statesman?
Yeah.
What British statesman called Newfoundland
the best small boat fisherman in the world?
Winston Churchill.
Right again.
That's our uncle, just by the way. By way of trivia, in our family, we had, God rest his soul, Uncle Winston Churchill, and our brother is Lloyd George, also a British Prime Minister. 2
British statesmen.
Yep.
What does it mean in Newfoundland when you are threading the needle?
Threading the needle. That's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer to that. I would say, is it a fishing term for steering through the narrows? I don't know. Taking a guess.
It could be. I'm sure someone somewhere said that, but that's not the answer. No. The answer is you're dancing. I think it's like a square dance or something.
It's like a square thread. But that's not one we did up at the Lions Club in Dildo.
Did not do that.
I can honestly say, on all the high school dances I went to, I never threaded the needle.
I don't know. Well, you're a pretty good dancer. Twinkle toes, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Light on my feet.
So here's a game that was not ever played in Newfoundland.
Okay.
Trivia game. Jeopardy.
Oh, God. Mom and Dad love Jeopardy.
But a lot of Newfoundlanders watch Jeopardy, obviously. Oh. Yes, I remember many a night going up and watching it with them. Actually, Alex Trebek was a longtime host of Jeopardy, was a host of Reach for the Top.
That's right. He was another one. Yeah.
I think in Toronto somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
Here's my question for you. It's a yes or no question, so it's pretty easy.
Guamba.
As you know, Canadians are sometimes contestants on Jeopardy. Has a Newfoundland Labradorian ever appeared on Jeopardy?
I feel like I would have heard about it, so I'm going to say no.
Well, sorry, 50-50 question, but you got it wrong. Okay. Yes, in fact, a Newfoundlander actually did appear on Jeopardy.
Guamba. Who is
Her
this?
name. Her name was. Her name is Kirsten Morey,
Okay.
and she's a lawyer. Actually, she appeared in 2018. She finished third, but it was a tough competition the day that she was on the show. Two tough competitors, so she did very well for herself. Our love of trivia continues to this day.
Are we keeping
fact,
score
as
here?
I-
How far down am I right now?
No, I think you're on top of things. I think you got more
Hey,
correct.
all of you listen to you out there. Those of you who listened to the pilot and thought I wasn't going to get any right.
So you're doing really well. And we haven't even started talking about beer, and I know how much you love that.
Oh, I love beer.
The Dildo Brewing Company and Museum.
Big shout out to Roger, Debbie, Angie, Rob. Thanks for sponsoring us.
What year did it open?
To 2019.
2018.
18.
One year before that.
Yeah.
Here's a question that's really hard.
I should have thought about that for a minute because I know that.
You do.
Yeah.
Got to concentrate now, Kevin.
Yeah.
So here's one that's really hard. I don't know how you'd know this unless you actually work there, but I'm going to try you on it anyway.
Okay.
When they did open, what was the very first beer that they ever brought on tap? Was it Eyes to Buy Pale Ale,
It was
Blonde Route 80, or was it Stout Dildo?
No, it was Eyes to Buy PA.
I'm very sorry.
No, come on.
It was Stout Dildo.
Guamba. That was their first beer on tap?
That was their first beer on tap. Moving on along to Newfoundland history and beer.
Okay.
I think you should do fine with this. And I do want to say, when I was looking into this, there was two resources that I found really helpful. One was a webpage called newfoundlandbeer.org.
Guamba.
By a fellow by the name of Chris Conway. Absolutely.
Should I bring that up right now before you start asking questions?
You might want to. Absolutely great webpage on everything about Newfoundland beer that you would ever want to know. Okay. And also there's actually a book written called Bottoms Up, A History of Alcohol in Newfoundland and Labrador by Sheila Roberts Lukens.
Guamba.
Here's your first question. There are 5 traditional, first question in this part of the category, I should say. It's not your first question. There are 5 traditional Newfoundland brands of beer still being brewed by the large commercial breweries.
Yes.
Obviously, there are a lot of local craft brews, but the large commercial breweries. Can you name all 5 of the Newfoundland brews that the large, Molson's and Labatt's and so on?
Sure. I'll give it a go. Black Horse, Blue Star, Jockey Club, Dominion Ale, and India Pale Ale. India
beer.
Yeah.
So you got all 5.
Yeah. I've drank all 5.
you know your beer.
Listen, here's the thing that I probably didn't drink much of that when I was living in Newfoundland up until I was 24 or whatever I was. But when I left and then I'd start to fly home every year, I'd bring back those beers from Newfoundland. Sure. So that's why I know them so well, to be honest.
So Dominion Ale was originally brewed by one of the oldest commercial breweries in Newfoundland, actually, called Bennett Brewery. Bennett Brewery goes, it's in St. John's, west end of St. John's, goes back to 1827 or earlier.
Guamba.
It was started by a guy by the name of Charles Fox Bennett, and he was actually a prime minister of Newfoundland at one point later in his life. And the brewery operated independently all the way up to 1962, when it was sold to Canadian breweries, which eventually became Carling O'Keefe Breweries. And of course, now is Molson Breweries. And they actually, once Molson's bought it, they closed the actual location down. I do believe. I'm going to go to one of the most well-known Bennett brews, which you would know as
Black Horse.
No, it would be Dominion.
Dominion, okay.
Bennett Dominion Ale one time used to be called. Now they just call it Dominion Ale.
Okay.
So for many years, Dominion, in the cases from 1950s to 1977, to be exact, they had a very well-known marketing strategy here in Newfoundland where they placed an item in the case of beer.
Oh, boy.
What was the item? I'll give you a multiple choice on this one.
Okay. Good.
Because
I was sick. So, well, we start drinking early in Newfoundland. We don't start that early.
You weren't buying any Dominion Ale.
No.
Was it a Sou'wester? Was it Newfoundland coins? Was it the Newfoundland songbook? Or was it a picture of the Queen?
I feel like it could have been a picture of the Queen.
And, given that it's Dominion Ale, You would think that would be a good thing to do.
That's where I was headed with it.
But although there's a lot of love for the Queen of Newfoundland, I'm not sure how coveted that would be.
Okay.
However, what would be more coveted would be the Newfoundland Songbook.
The songbook was my second choice because I don't see sending Southwesters in a box of beer to Newfoundlanders.
No.
Might work for a marketing strategy here in Ontario.
It was the Newfoundland Songbook, and all the traditional Newfoundland songs and so on would have been published there, right?
Yeah,
and it was very successful. Apparently, it was very highly coveted document. I'm sure you can still get.
Be interesting.
I'm sure a lot of people still have those kicking around, right?
I was going to say, be interesting to see if we could get our mitts on one.
A great trivia category.
Yeah.
Newfoundland songs. So Bennett Brewery also brewed another beer that I don't know if you've ever heard tell of. It's called Hag Ale. Have you ever heard tell of that?
No.
My question to you is, what was Hag Ale named after? What or who was it named after? Was it the old? Was it the old hag?
It was named after the old hag nightmare.
Was it Hag whiskey?
No.
Or was it Douglas Haig, military leader in World War I?
Nah, it was the hag. It was the old maid. I gets her more often than I'd like. I still gets the hag.
Well, you might get the old hag if you drinks a lot of Hag Ale, but
that's not who it was named after.
No, it wasn't. It was named after Douglas Haig. He was a field marshal.
This is a trick question you put in there.
Well, I knew
I was going to say that.
I knew I'd get you on this one. Yeah. That's why I put Old Haig as the choice there. Yeah. So he was a field marshal actually who led the Newfoundlanders actually at the Battle of the Somme. Well, he led more than the Newfoundlanders.
But his last name was Haig.
Yes, Haig. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, now the spelling might have given that away.
Well, I wasn't going to give you that. He was pretty famous. He was the commander of the British Expeditionary Force, actually, on the Western Front from 1915 to the end of the war. So,
there's something us Newfoundlanders should know about, really.
And the Newfoundlanders, even though he was a bit of a controversial figure, apparently Newfoundlanders revered him, and actually he was invited and honored at the dedication of the War Memorial once it was unveiled in the 1920s, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So he was held in very high esteem by the veterans, despite everything, of course, that took place during the war.
Sure.
My next question,
man, you're relentless. Yo, man, more beer.
Keep it going.
All right, let's have it.
Why take a break here?
Well, you're going to get one in a minute because I'm going to turn this on you. But come on, let's hear this.
All right, some more. Here's one. I didn't know this at all. I was really surprised by this. I find it surprising.
Yeah.
That out of that list of 5 beers that you mentioned, one of those beers, even though it's only sold here in Newfoundland today, did not originate in Newfoundland. It's not a Newfoundland beer.
No, it was an imported beer, and Dad used to say he paid 5 cents more to get it. Oh. So because it was imported from Quebec.
Okay, what's the name of that beer then?
Black Horse.
Wow, you are 100% correct on that. You've thrown me for a loop here.
I, in fact, have an ad is framed of for Black Horse beer from I think like 1950-ish from either Lifestyle or it was some big magazine today that I can't remember the name of right now. An advert in a mainland magazine, we'll say, and it was for this. Black Horse beer brewed in, and it had Quebec in it,
Yeah, so, in fact, it was Quebec, and first brewed in 1826. It's a very old brew.
Guamba.
Apparently, what happened was it got included here in Newfoundland after, the Canadian breweries came in and bought up the local breweries, and it became popular here in Newfoundland. They started to phase it out in the rest of Canada. But of course, because it was so popular here in Newfoundland, they continued brewing it here only. So
yeah.
Thought that was quite interesting. You mentioned India beer earlier.
Yeah.
Can you picture the beer, the label, the whole thing?
Newfoundland dog.
Okay. Yeah. So this question should be quite easy for you then.
Yeah.
My question for you is, which of the following is the slogan that adorns the label for India beer? Okay. So is it man's best friend? Is it for Newfoundlanders only? Is it brewed only in Newfoundland and Labrador? Or is it premium quality Newfoundland beer?
Honestly, this is just going to be a guess, but I think it's premium quality Newfoundland beer.
Okay. I thought you would get this one, given that you mentioned The dog.
I do
Yeah,
remember the
it's
label, but I don't remember
okay.
I don't spend a lot of time reading the labels when I'm drinking the beer. The obvious stuff sticks out to me, but the rest, I just there to drink it, man.
So it's in connection with the dog. It's man's best friend.
That would have been a better guess.
So the last two, Blue Star and Jockey Club. Let me ask you a couple things about them.
Okay.
The Blue Star and Jockey Club was actually brewed by a company that I hadn't ever heard tell of called Bavarian Brewery. Or Brewing, rather. Bavarian Brewing, St. John's, Newfoundland. Believe it or not, they operated from 1932 to 1962 when they too were bought out by Molson's, maybe? I think Molson's.
Well, if it was, Blue Star is now brewed by what was Labatt's.
Oh, maybe it's Labatt's. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'll stand corrected. Yeah. You have fact checked me on that one.
Yeah. It's a Brazilian outfit now.
Yes. Yeah. So in any event, which one of the following was not an advertising slogan for Blue Star? Was it the shining star of the granite planet? Was it an honest, uncomplicated brew? Or was it the star of Newfoundland?
Which one was not? Is that what you said?
Yeah, which one is not? Two of them were slogans.
Well, I know for sure the shining star of the granite planet was. So the other two again are?
An honest, uncomplicated brew, or the star of Newfoundland?
I'll say the honest, uncomplicated thing wasn't the slogan.
You are correct. I thought I was going to get you on that one because I had two with star in it.
Yeah.
You thought I was going to trick you, but no. An honest, uncomplicated brew is actually a slogan for Jockey Club.
Jockey Club. There you go. So listen, I never open a Blue Star without saying shining star to granite planet. That'll tell you how effective advertising is. And that's what, 26 years later.
Yeah, very effective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Question on Jockey Club for you. Easy one.
Okay. It's a horse. It's a horse.
It is a horse.
Yeah.
True or false?
Okay.
Jockey Club
the last time you said true or false or 50-50 was going to be easy. I got it wrong. So let's just not get our expectations up here.
It is 50-50. Yeah. Jockey Club was first created and brewed by Hans Schneider.
Yeah. Well, it was Bavarian Brewing,
who was a German brew master brought to Newfoundland and Labrador by Bavarian Breweries. Is that true or false?
Well, that sounds true. All of that sounds true to me.
Sounds really true.
It does. But I don't know why anybody, I don't know why anybody setting up a brewery in the 30s in Newfoundland will go, you know what would be really good here? German beer. Let's go out and get Hans Müller or whatever you said his name was. And we'll put him on a slow ship to St. John's. I'm going to say it's false.
I got you again. It is true.
They actually brought a guy from Germany.
They wanted a
brewer. It all sounds right
for Bavarian Brewing.
It all sounds right.
Yeah.
Well,
he created several brews. Actually, he was very popular, and he was he was a master brewer. Actually, very good at what he did. And here's another little tidbit on that. I don't know if you knew this. I certainly didn't. The owner of the Bavarian Brewery was actually none other than Albert E. Hickman, the guy who created or developed or founded Hickman Motors.
Yes, but he owned the Bavarian Brewery.
That's go on by.
Go on by. You're kidding me, by. I wouldn't have known that. Now, I think that's enough of this. I think I should have the opportunity to push back.
Go for it, my son.
So I have a question about Shakespeare.
Oh God. Shakespeare.
How is your Shakespeare?
Was he a Newfoundlander?
Oh yes. He spent a lot of time at Bavarian Brewery drinking beer. So my question is about Shakespeare and Stratford, Ontario. Familiar with Stratford? Is
I've heard of it.
Home of live theater. You know, it's just sort of some very, very famous actors have gone through there, continue to go through there.
I've been to Stratford in England, but I've never been to Stratford.
Well, that's the proper Stratford, but Stratford, Ontario has quite a reputation for live theater. And the Stratford Festival every year has always an element of Shakespeare about it. They did a play in 2016, one of Shakespeare's plays, and they set that play in Newfoundland. Do you know which Shakespeare that was?
Which play?
Which play? Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't. But anyways,
well, multiple choice then. Multiple choice.
I can give you. Okay, you're going to give me.
I'll give you a multiple choice. Okay. Was it Othello? Was it Henry VIII? Was it Romeo and Juliet? Or was it As You Like It? Let's throw that one in there.
Okay, so I'm still nowhere close to the answer, but I'm going to say Othello sounds like a guy could be from Newfoundland.
But it was not Othello.
No, it was Romeo and Juliet.
No, it was As You Like It.
Okay.
And okay, we're not done. So that you don't know that, I feel like asking you more about it. The music that was set for this was arranged by a Newfoundlander. A Newfoundlander who's very well known in Newfoundland and very well known outside of Newfoundland, I'd say. Do you want a multiple choice on this one?
Sure.
Okay. So the choices are Sean McCann, Alan Hawko, Alan Doyle, Bob Hallett.
That's a tough choice. I'm going to go with Bob Hallett.
Correct, sir. That's correct. So you get so you got 1 out of 2, but I'm going to give you 3. Okay. The play itself, which was really quite well done, had a lot of audience participation. There were places in the play where people got up and took part in some way, shape, or form. One of the things that they had to do with the performers was have classes to teach them something very specific about Newfoundland. What they had to learn to do was called running the goat. Running the goat.
The greatest of all time.
Yeah. So what were they teaching them when they taught them to run the goat?
They were teaching them to dance, to square dance.
That's absolutely right. It was like threading the needle, Darryl.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They were threading the needle.
They were threading the needle and running
like
the goat.
Greatest of all time.
And they were running the goat. There you go. Sorry. You can have at me again now, but I just needed that little bit of pushback.
All right. So I don't want to leave the our beer, I guess, trivia without talking a little bit about craft breweries.
Okay.
Because we've got a lot of great craft breweries here in Newfoundland and Labrador today, okay. And quite popular. And each location is just fantastic, and the beers are great for sure. And so it's a great industry. And so I want to ask you a few questions on that. The first one,
a few,
yeah.
Okay.
The first one is about our favorite brewery. Actually, you would know what that is.
The Dildo Brewing Company Museum.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the question is this: they have done a collaboration on a recent beer, and this is what it reads on the can. It says, "Who says potatoes and turnips are only meant for Jig's dinner? Dildo Brewing Company and Lone Oak Brewing Company put their heads together to incorporate them into a beer, and behold." So expect a clean lager with a subtle sweetness and hop character. It might be perfect.
Ooh.
So this is a collaboration, and it's a shout out. The name of the beer is a shout out to a fairly popular TV sitcom back in the 1970s. Do you know what the name of the beer is?
Oh, I don't.
The lead character was known for often saying, "Get me a beer."
Oh, yes. I did see them advertise this. It was it's named after All in the Family. It's all in the whatever. I won't remember it. What is it?
It's Starchy Bunker.
Starchy Bunker himself. Yes. It was Archie. Stifle it, eat it.
According to multiple sources that I've researched anyway,
Yeah.
the first craft brewery here in Newfoundland was one of two breweries that started around the same time. I don't know if you know the names of either one of them.
Kitty Vitty would
offhand.
probably be early. Kitty Vitty Brewing.
Yeah, so Kitty Vitty is one of the two.
And the other one is the one over in England, well, not English Harbor, but over in Trinity Bay there on the other side of the bay.
No, that one was really early as well. That's Port Rexton.
Port Rexton, yeah.
Brewery. But it's one that's a smaller brewery that's a little less known, called Storm Brewery.
Oh, okay.
And that one started in 1995, apparently, as Freshwater Brewing Company in Carbonear.
Guamba. Okay.
And Kitty Vitty started in 95, but first brew was 96. So those were kind of the new. Here's a question, not really a fair one, but you might come close to it. Or
Like
you might hit it right
the rest of these fair questions you're giving me.
And that is, how many craft breweries do you think there are currently in Newfoundland, Labrador today? Based on the web pages that I've looked at anyway. We could be off by one or two on this, but
I'd say, well, there's a lot in the last couple of years.
oh yeah.
So, I mean, like the last time I looked, it was like I think when Roger and them started, it was like the 12th or something like that. So I'll say like, I don't know, 18 now.
Right on the nose.
Guamba. So
18, yeah.
Well, not only a guess, but I do remember that when Dildo Brewing Company was starting up, it was like the 10th or 12th microbrewery in the province at that time. So
Right on. Yeah.
yeah.
It's, they've had, great growth in that industry. Based on that growth, here's the names of 3 breweries. You tell me where they're located in Newfoundland.
Okay.
So the first one is Iron Rock Brewing Company.
Bill Island.
I'll give you one more guess.
Pilly's Island.
No, it's Labrador City.
Oh, for God's sake, I lived in the place. I should.
Yeah, Labrador City.
Labrador City.
Next one, Bumblebee Bite Inn and Brewing Company.
No, that's in Pilly's Island.
That one's in Pilly's Island. We know it well.
Yeah.
And C, the third one, Yellow Belly Brewery.
Is Yellow Belly in St. John's, or is it like in one of the? I call it St. John's. Is what I don't know, but where is it?
Yeah, it's right in the heart of downtown.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the place, but I've had the beer. I knew it was from, but I didn't know if it might have been like
No, it's a beautiful, beautiful spot.
Yeah,
a beautiful old stone building.
Lovely.
The building that survived the last fire. Apparently, I think it was. I read it was where the fire stopped. I think
Wicked.
It burnt inside, but didn't burn down.
Wicked.
So,
Go on,
yeah, go on.
Go on, by.
So that's it for the beer questions.
Oh, thanks be to God.
But it's not it for the questions.
Okay. Well, what else, pray tell, do you have?
Because I want to pay tribute, I guess, to Reach for the Top.
Okay.
So I want to end our first episode with a lightning round.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you just random questions very quickly. You got to give me an answer if you know it, or if you don't know it, I guess.
Right. Okay. And so this is like against the clock.
Against the clock.
Okay.
10 questions.
10 questions. Here we go.
First one. Brad Goujiou and his curling rink will be competing in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing in February. Where were the Olympics held when Goujiou and his team won the gold medal in curling in 2006?
Sochi.
That would be Turin. Or
Turin. Oh, Torino. Okay.
What member of Great Big Sea had a role in the film Robin Hood?
Alan Doyle.
Correct. In the CBC television show Son of a Critch, young Mark Critch attends St. Teresa's School. In what St. John's neighborhood is St. Teresa's School located?
Oh, I don't know. LaMarchant Road.
Sorry, Monday Pond.
Pond.
Prior to being called Churchill Falls, what was the falls called?
Pass.
It was called the Grand Falls.
The Grand Falls.
Just recently, the Newfoundland Labrador government renamed a lake in central Newfoundland to Beothic Lake. What was the name before they changed it?
Red Indian Lake.
Correct.
Offensive.
What are the colors on the Newfoundland flag?
Red, white, gold, and blue.
Correct. What are the colors on the Labrador flag?
Blue, white, and sort of aqua or green.
Okay, green. Yes.
Yeah.
Well-known Newfoundland comedian Rick Mercer has a new book out. What is it called?
Oh, walking the back roads of St. John's. I don't know.
I think it's called Talking to Canadians.
Talking to Canadians. All right.
Actually, I'll give you a second chance at Rick Mercer. What community did he grow up in?
That's a good question. Oh, St. John's? But
Close. Middle Cove.
Middle Cove.
Local NTV weatherman Eddie Shear was born in the United States of America. What state was he born in?
Jersey. New Jersey.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, but I think he came from New Jersey, didn't he?
And last one, from what town in the province of Newfoundland, Labrador did actor Gordon Pinsent originate or was born in, grew up in?
Grand Falls.
Grand Falls, you got it.
Yes. Well, I feel good because I wasn't completely obliterated anyway.
You did good this time, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
big comeback.
Okay. Well, the pilot was not pretty.
But the first show, you've shown your true Newfoundland.
Well, but I got to say, and I say to those who are listening, if you're in the Newfoundland area and you can get to the brewery for trivia nights, you should do it. But hats off to you, Darryl, because that's like pulling all that information together. It's not like opening up a Trivial Pursuit box and just taking the cards and asking the questions. It has to get pulled from a lot of sources. So well done on you for getting all that together.
No, it was fun.
Yeah,
fun doing it and fun quizzing you and stumping you on a few too.
And those of you out there listening, if you've got if we got something wrong and you're certain we're wrong, email us at guambaipodcast@gmail.com. If you've got a question for us or you just want to send out good wishes, email us there, tweet us at Guambai, Facebook at Guambai Podcast, and all that'll get us out there. So continue to share. We're glad to be with you. So until we meet again, my name is Kevin George here in London, Ontario.
And I'm Darryl here in Whiteway, Newfoundland, Labrador.
And I guess there's not a bloody thing left to say, Darryl, only
Guambai.